Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal in-the-field adventure style content, and I'm going to be going through the process of how I find backpacking locations using Google Earth. I'll also share how I find new locations that are mostly off-trail and route finding, like smaller, more hidden like alpine lakes and basins and stuff like that. So this is an area here where I went on my most recent backpacking trip, which I have a video of on my channel, where I found some hidden kind of alpine lakes in this really cool basin off of a over 12,000 foot ridge here, which is kind of this ridge right there. I'm kind of going to go over the process of how I found this location and decided to go backpacking here because it looked really cool on Google Earth. So from here, there's actually a forest road that comes up just off of this ridge, kind of from this way. And you can almost see the road there. If I zoomed in, you could see the road a little bit more. It is in here. There's a forest road right there, which winds up this mountainside here. And the trailhead, I think the trailhead's right there. And there is a trail that goes from here all the way up. So I wanted to go backpacking out here. And I knew there was a trail that kind of roughly followed this ridge, but I wasn't sure what my destination would be. There is a cool little lake up here, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. Now, you can't really see too much. You can kind of see the little lakes and tarns scattered right here that I decided to go to, but one of the tricks I do like to use, because sometimes in satellite view, it can be hard to see very small alpine lakes and tarns that are maybe hidden in a basin or shadows or some trees or forest that's kind of hiding the lakes. I'll actually go into the regular map mode, and now here you can actually see there are about 3 alpine lakes or tarns hidden in this area. So that's kind of how I found those. And I knew they were kind of off of this ridge here. There's this basin down here, and there are 3 of them. Now, Google Earth kind of cuts off the satellite view right here, which is kind of odd, but you can actually see that there is 1, 2, and then 3 right there. So that's kind of how I found that these were down this basin. Now, there is a trail all the way back here up on this ridge that you can follow, which is the trail that I followed to get up on this ridge. You can see the trail right here. So I knew I could get here very easily because there was a trail. But it doesn't actually follow the ridge directly. This is a much higher area up here than the trail down there, so you kind of have to climb up to this area. So then, once I find that location that I want to go, I will kind of go into 3D mode and see how can I get down into this. And here you can kind of see there are a few little, I don't know, almost gulches or valleys that kind of drive down into this basin. This is the one I ended up taking to get down, because you can kind of see here that it's actually a pretty mellow grade. So I actually hiked up to this peak here first, then I wandered down this way and dropped into this basin. I ended up following this south-facing hillside first, and there were actually some elk paths on here that I was able to use, which you can kind of see some of those on here maybe. And I remember seeing those when I was looking into this. You can actually see these are actually game trails. They're like elk trails that elk use up there to get down into this basin where the lakes are. So I did actually use that partially to get down. Now, there was a lot more snow when I did this trip, which you can see in the video in this area, so I had to navigate around these snowfields. There's not many when this was taken from satellite view. So I kind of came down this way, got around the snowfields, got down here, and made it down to these lakes. And they were actually, very pretty lakes. And this ridgeline here ended up being way more dramatic than I thought it was going to be. It was very peaky with nice, I would almost say granite pillars, spires and towers and stuff on it. It was very cool. So that ended up being a successful find on Google Earth. This is the overview of a backpacking trip I'm hopefully planning to do in the next few weeks here. And this is a lot more straightforward one, but I'm going to do a quick kind of overview of it. Mostly because trail can kind of get me most of the way to where I want to go. So there's a trailhead over here somewhere, and then this is a nice little pass here. This is actually called Shark's Tooth Pass in the La Plata Mountains near Durango, Colorado. And Shark's Tooth Peak here. You kind of see there's some switchbacks coming off of this pass right here. So I plan on hiking through that area. And then there is a trail that follows this ridge here. And then it's going to kind of go out into this basin and kind of go this way. Now, The trail's very straightforward. I don't really need to look at this for the trail because I know the trail's there. You can kind of see it in some of these spots. Really, it was for where I want to decide to camp that I was using Google Earth. Now, this is very uneven terrain here, but there's a flat section here below this pass where the trail goes up. Now, so my plan is to probably camp somewhere in here on one of these flat sections, just right above tree line roughly. I have been out here a bit before. I know that this ridge line up here is pretty dramatic. I mean, you can kind of see it on there a little bit. Maybe I can get a better view. Kind of see that ridge line there. It's much more dramatic in real life, so I want to have a good view of that from my campsite. It's kind of the plan. So I basically just used Google Maps or Google Earth here to find kind of some flatter areas where maybe I could camp in this area. And I think there's loads of options kind of around here. Interesting thing with this is when I looked more, I kind of saw there is a little tiny pond located here as well, maybe even there. So that could be a cool spot to set up camp. And then you would end up having great views of this ridgeline here and those mountain peaks. Some of those are 13,000 foot peaks. From this kind of flat area, which is just at tree lines, there should be some good views of that area. So yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of how I found where I'll probably end up camping on this backpacking trip, which hopefully I'll be doing in the next few weeks. Now I'm going to give an example of another location for backpacking that is a bit more hidden, that took me a little bit of time to find while exploring around, but I used some of the tricks I mentioned earlier to find this location. So from here you can kind of see, this is satellite view in 3D. There's a nice little peak here, some nice ridges, and there's a little basin right here. Now you can't really see much other than basin. I mean, it looks cool. But again, if you go into the 2D map view or that same area, you can see there are two little small alpine tarns up here in this basin, which this is how I found these looking on the regular map view. It shows all the bodies of water in blue. So then I went back to the satellite view in 3D and zoomed in, and sure enough, there is a frozen over tarn here, which actually looks really cool. It's at the base of that peak, and there's actually another one over here, which I noticed afterwards, which they both show up on the map view, like I'm showing here. So this is going to be a bit more of an off-trail route. I kind of zoomed out a bit, and if you go back this way, I believe that there is actually maybe, I don't know if this is an old forest road or a trail, but it does actually go up here, and it kind of looks like a forest road. Like it's kind of worn in. Like cars actually drive this. You can see there's another little small pond located right there. So that's kind of I knew how I'll get my access to this area is I'll drive up this road. I imagine that you're going to have to park somewhere down here. I don't know how far up you can drive up this. But anyway, I can access this ridgeline. So once you drive up here, you can literally access this ridgeline, and this ridgeline looks pretty mellow. I mean, there's some, pretty big cornices up there, snow along this ridge. Also, I can see on the screen here that this was captured June 13th of 2025 is when the satellite image was from. So this was early season. So I do kind of know that later in the season there will not be this much snow up here in July, just say. So I probably won't have to contend with this much snow when I go. So that's a good thing to know as well. If you can check the date down here when this was, then you kind of know, at least for snow cover and stuff, what time of year it was. So you can kind of gauge how much snow you may have to deal with when you actually go out here. So I'll basically be able to follow this ridge line here, which will be all off trail, just route finding, but should be pretty easy. And then that ridge line drops literally down into this basin where these small tarns are located. And I think I might have some pretty good views of this peak above, kind of towering above that basin. It might be pretty cool. So that's when I kind of look forward to visiting this summer at some point. I'm sure I could probably find somewhere to camp in this area here. I mean, it looks pretty flat. So I think that'll be a great spot. Generally, when hiking, camping in the mountains, you want to stay, depends on the area. Different areas have different rules. A lot of times it's 200 feet away from bodies of water. So I won't camp directly on these. I'll probably camp down away from them, at least 200 feet away. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. But yeah, this one looks really cool, and it's a bit more hidden. There are no trails going out here. So I doubt there will be anybody out there, and it should be a cool backpacking trip. And hopefully I'll get a video out on this location later in the summer. This final section, I'm going to go over kind of backpacking a very well-known backpacking route, and that is the 4-pass loop that I'm going to be doing the next couple weeks here, up in the Maroon Bell Snowmass Wilderness. Now, I'm going to be hiking out of Crested Butte. Most people actually go out of Aspen Snowmass, which is a lot busier, over by like Maroon Lake. I wanted to do kind of like the less busy side, and I like Crested Butte, so I'm going to go out of the trailhead on the Crested Butte side, which the trailhead is, I want to say it's the East Fork trailhead, but anyway, trailhead's here, north of Crested Butte, so I'll park here. It's going to end up being a 2-night, 3-day backpacking trip, but you hike up this valley here, this trail there, and you enter the Maroon Bell Snowmass Wilderness somewhere in this area, and then enter the wilderness area. Now, you need permits to do this hike, so I got permits for 2 nights. And the first night, I am in the Maroon Zone, which is this area here. So this is West Maroon Pass. I'm going to pass over this pass. The trail's kind of here, kind of switch backs over West Maroon Pass. Then you drop into this whole valley basin here. So you kind of hike down this whole valley, slowly losing elevation. You got Maroon Peak there, which is a 14er. So I'm probably camping. I got to camp in the zone somewhere. The Crater Lake zone is down here, so I can't camp down here. I have to camp somewhere in this area. So I will kind of use Google Earth to determine potential camping spots, just to get an idea of how far I'm going the first day. Now, there probably will be spots that people have kind of already made, and that's where I'll try and camp, because it's a wilderness area. You don't want to make new campsites. So I'll get down and camp somewhere down here. And I like using Google Earth for kind of determining what might be good photo spots for the video that I'm going to make. This is Crater Lake down here. I mean, you can kind of go into Google Street View here and just see, I wish that would go in. You click on that blue dot there, and you can kind of see what the area looks like. That's not a very good photo. And this is October 2020, the lake is literally completely dried up. So yeah, I'll kind of use it for stuff like that. Trying to determine good camping spots, what kind of spots might be good for taking shots for the video, and also photos. The next day, I'll be hiking up to Buckskin Pass, which is another over 12,000 foot pass. You cross over that, you're going to drop back down into this kind of valley here, Snowmass Creek, and this is Snowmass Lake. So I'll be spending the second night at Snowmass Lake, which, to be fair, Snowmass Lake is kind of what inspired me to do this backpacking trip, because it just looks absolutely amazing. You have Snowmass Mountain up here above the lake. It just looks fantastic. Trail Rider Pass, which is a pass that I'll cross over on the third day, the final day of the hike. Let's click on that here. So you can kind of see, Snowmass Lake is very popular, so there's plenty of photos you can look up, but it looks absolutely stunning. I really want to photograph this location, and I think even for a video, it will be a really great spot to film a video. Very popular, very well known. Permits can be hard to get, but I did get some for a couple of nights. So yeah, I'll kind of use it for stuff like that. This, I don't need to find routes or anything like that, because there's a very well-worn-in trail, but it's more for understanding good camping spots where I might want to take photos, stuff like that. And then the final day of the hike, you'll go over Trail Rider Pass, go up this way, and then there is Frigid Air Pass, which isn't labeled on here, but Frigid Air Pass is somewhere up here. You drop back down and hike back down to the trailhead where I started the hike. So really, over the past several months or a year, Google Earth has become the most valuable tool I have at my disposal for planning backpacking trips. I do like to use all trails for finding trails and stuff, but honestly, I've started to find that finding your own routes and locations to visit is more rewarding in the end than just following a regular trail. I'll use all trails and stuff for finding trails generally, but oftentimes I'll try and find more hidden, less visited locations off of trails that I can access through making my own routes. And really, wilderness areas are just filled with locations that are off trail and absolutely amazing to visit. Street View is a fantastic tool to use on Google Earth for especially for photography and shooting videos, to determine what something looks like. Here's a good location here that I plan on hopefully backpacking to in the future. This is a nice overlook here in the Weminuche Wilderness. This is a lake that I would like to backpack to this summer, and I mean, this area just looks absolutely amazing, and it is mostly off trail. So you're mostly going to have to route find to get out to this area. There's another Google Street View example. This is also kind of below the ridge here, looking down at this alpine lake here, and this just looks like amazing terrain. So yeah, just a fantastic tool for finding locations that you can backpack to. Hope you guys found this video helpful on how I plan my backcountry and backpacking trips and routes using Google Earth. I found it to be a tremendously helpful tool for planning trips like this. And although all these locations that I'm showing today were all planned in, the high mountains in Colorado, you really can use Google Earth as a tool to plan backcountry trips anywhere that you can go hiking or backpacking. So yeah, it's not really only to the locations that I showed. You can use it pretty much anywhere. If it was helpful, let me know down below in the comments. If you have anything that you want to say, have any questions, yeah, just leave them down there. And yeah, maybe if people were interested in this and want to see more videos where I go over my trip planning, I could maybe make some more videos in the future. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.